So, if you've got an authentic approach and you're being really transparent, it's time to get outspoken. We're living in a way that needs to change more quickly than we currently are. As participants in society, companies also have a civic code to take part as civic organisations. It's part of their social responsibility. And it's been both pragmatic and fashionable in the last few years for businesses to say, actually, government's not doing anything, I'm not going to engage politically, we're just going to do our own thing. And that's really good until you get to things like transport systems, you know, and it gets pretty hard to do a transport system bottom-up from businesses. So we do need political engagement, and Pure Advantage's Green Growth Report spells that out quite clearly, that there is a clear political role to play. So we shouldn't wait, but to mainstream sustainability and honour that brand compact we're building with customers, we do need to have an authentic commitment and communicate transparently and publicly. So there's lots of forms, and I'll just quickly show a few examples of that. So Patagonia, long track record of being outspoken. If you're interested in their work, look at their Don't Buy This Jacket advertising, which specifically addresses the fact that we need to consume less. In New Zealand, Rob Fife a few years ago made news by blasting climate change and the lack of political progress on it. There has been a large stony silence from New Zealand businesses in public since then, largely, actually. When was the last time I read a headline about a New Zealand business standing up for climate change? But overseas it's happening. Sorry, this is ridiculously small, but on the 28th of October, this letter is an open letter that was sent from 20 companies to President Obama. Small companies like Starbucks, Unilever, Mars, L'Oreal, Levi's, and Symantec. And I'll just read a short extract from it. It says, "We call upon your administration to follow through on commitments for robust support of climate change resilience, coupled with a robust strategy to mitigate the overall impact of global climate change through aggressive emissions reductions. We will continue to do our part in reducing carbon footprint, and we look to the government to do the same." The letter acknowledges the massive carbon impact that those companies are facing right now on their global supply chains. They're published as an open letter, and they have had PR coverage and stories around that. The first anniversary of Hurricane Sandy was also accompanied by a CBS decision to screen at Times Square for 3 months a 15-second commercial supported by 700 US companies promoting green-led growth. But locally, there are very few outspoken. There's some examples, and at the start of this month, API consumer brands removed triclosan and other unhealthy chemicals from their Health Basics products. They didn't just use TV3 and national radio and other media outlets to get their story across, but they're also quite comfortable being aligned politically with the Green Party, who were making the same claim, airing the same concerns, and causing for regulatory action. There's a massive opportunity for brands to differentiate themselves by being outspoken in that way. So if you're being outspoken on the issues that customers care about from a position of authenticity and transparency, it makes you part of the story, and customers can see you are part of the solution and want to buy you in preference to other people's products and services. It makes you relevant and newsworthy. And also being outspoken is pretty lightly regulated in New Zealand, thankfully. Unlike making claims, which do have some regulation. Just before I finish, I want to touch on that and give you some hints on how to navigate that part. So if you don't want to end up being pinged, you need to be familiar with the Commerce Commission's requirements for green claims and also the Advertising Standard Authority's Environmental Code. They're all available online, and in short, both of those organisations require your claims to be specific and verifiable. Claims like eco-friendly can't be used in that context. They require you to take a whole of life cycle approach to any claims you're making. So your product can be great and green, but if it comes in rubbish packaging, if it comes in rubbish packaging, they'll ping you for that if you're making a claim about the product because you're not thinking whole of life cycle. And both look at imagery as well as words. So the fluffy dolphins and rainbows are taken seriously by those guys when they're looking at regulation. And basically what they're looking at is, are the public risking greenwash? Are you risking greenwash? And greenwash being claims that mislead, distract, or exaggerate. And the ASA achieve 100% compliance, the Commerce Commission does prosecute under the Fair Trading Act with fines. There's also new legislation coming up, which will mean you have to have evidence for any claims before you make them. And so when Dole advertised their ethical choice, it took them 5 months to muster some evidence that that actually was or wasn't robust. And they kept the Commerce Commission waiting for 5 months before they sent that information through. But this new legislation, if it goes through, the Consumer Law Reform Bill, will require that anything you advertise, you have to have the evidence in your filing cabinet before you make it. And it really matters because, 94% of New Zealanders, according to Colmar's research in 2011, said they get annoyed when products try to pass themselves off as greener than they really are. And when consumers get upset, our brands suffer as a result. So, if we're wanting to build that consumer love and have those values aligned, it's really important that we look at authenticity, transparency, and be bold and be outspoken. There's massive opportunity to do that, and consumers want to hear from you. They want to know that you share their concerns and that you're on the journey and that you too are part of the solution they're looking for. Kia ora whanau, thank you for the time this afternoon. It's an absolute pleasure to be part of such a great lineup, and I'm loving the conference, and I hope you enjoy the rest of it too. I'll hand back over to Simon now, and thank you for your time.